Hey, good evening, Nui and Mintage Bitcoin enthusiasts. This is John Gruckman out in Vancouver, Canada. And this is Monday, the February the 19th. Tonight's call is not going to be a presentation about the opportunity. Rather, it will be an information call. Two of our teammates, Bill Akins and Paul McDowell, spent 2 days in Utah meeting with the owners and the founders of the company and quizzed them, gave them the Inquisition, and have come back to us to report on all the good, bad, and the ugly that they found. I think it's mostly good. So without me getting too much time, I'll just open it up to Paul. Paul, you're on.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. Bill and I went down to Nui Social to visit Nui Social Management and Mintage. We wanted to be 100% sure that the company was 100% compliant and what their marketing plan was and everything else. We wanted safety and profit. So I'm going to start off with compliance today. That was my number one question for them. And I'll start off by saying this. Their attorney is Mark Rasmussen. He works for Jones Day, which is the largest law firm in the United States. Basically, he represents Nui Social and Mintage. He makes sure that we're compliant with SEC regulation. Jones Day.
Paul, can I just interrupt you? Can you see well without your glasses? Because
I can probably make it done. We get a lot of reflection there.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks.
Okay. We found this to be very interesting. The SEC takes advice from legal counsel. Okay. Jones Day, being the largest in the field of the MLM, was offering legal counsel. I'm not saying they're representing them. They're offering legal advice. They helped SEC sponsor legislation, or whoever sponsors legislation. Jones Day was instrumental in creating legislation for cryptocurrency. Wonderful. Who would you like to have on your attorney as an attorney? Do you want someone who helps draft the legislation? Of course you do. That's what Jones Day does. Mark, more to the point, Mark Rasmussen took the business plan from Nui Social and Mintage to the SEC. Since he works with Jones Day works with SEC, took it to the SEC to ask their opinion of our business plan. SEC specifically looked at it in detail, came up with some suggestions to be more compliant, and says, if you can do this, we're happy. I don't know any other company. I don't know any other MLM company that's ever taken their business plan. This company has. And Mark Rasmussen is our attorney. He works with Jones Day, and he is in communication with SEC on a daily basis. That pretty much sums it up. Did they take their plan? Yes. Did they look at it? Yes. And did they offer suggestions? Yes. That's pretty much what it comes down to. We do have an attorney in-house. His name is Greg Fernie. Any questions we have about compliance, since he's in touch with Mark Rasmussen and Jones Day on a regular basis,
watch out,
we can do that.
Ahead.
Connect with him, and we're in touch with SEC, bottom line. Let's see. No, here's an interesting thing in terms of compliance. We can now write business in any country in the world. There will be a couple that are terrorist designated countries, but for the most part, at this point, we are not restricted to the 14 countries that have endorsed and formalized our program. We can now write business with Nui Social in, for the most part, any country in the world. That's new. Japan has the strictest regulation for mining in the world. even tougher than the US. We are compliant there. And you can write business there. That's pretty nice to know. I think that pretty much sums up compliance. Do you have anything to add, Bill, to that?
No, the only other thing I probably want to add is on the state issues. We did ask him about states. Suppose, let's say a state decided to raise their head on any issue, let's say Washington or Texas or whatever. And one of the owners of the company, Darren, quickly said, look, we're prepared with our legal counsel to be audited or whatever is necessary on a state-by-state basis. We have nothing to hide. And I found that to be very refreshing. I think that, as Paul alluded, we're in good hands. I don't know if there's anything else we can do. You're going to be in the space of cryptocurrency and network marketing combined. We're just going to have to realize that we're on a road that can change from time to time. So I think we're doing everything we can, and both Paul and I feel very comfortable in this space and where we are right now. All right, so let's switch gears a minute. I want to talk a little bit about mining and what's going on with mining. We had a chance, we're real fortunate to actually meet the owner of Mintage. His name is Dave Childs. And Dave is a very, very sharp young man and has been around the block for a while. He's actually been involved with mining the last several years. His background really, if you go back in time with him, he's really a kind of a back-end guy. He basically has worked with SAP with a lot of companies. One would be Nutrisystem. He helped develop their back-end program, and that kind of led him into mining and to cryptocurrency in the last couple of years. Teamed up with Darren, the owner of the company, and Darren has a very unique profile. When you just talk to him, you realize he's extremely bright and he's very, very well connected. Both Paul and I realize that the combination of Childs and Darren is excellent, because Darren's job really is to do all of the relationship piece of mining, and it's really Childs' position to do the mining itself. Now, in terms of mining and what we're doing here, obviously all of you know at this point that we're actually purchasing hash power. That's what we're doing. We're not purchasing cryptocurrency. We're purchasing hash power, and we're getting compensated through the efforts of hash power every week. What we didn't realize is the complexity of mining. It's a very interesting field. And what we did find out is that the name of the game with mining is really hardware. And the better hardware you have, the more likely you're going to succeed. And one of the things that both Darren and Childs are trying to do is to be able to purchase part of their portfolio in hardware. They don't want to own it all. They want to have the flexibility of being able to purchase and to lease both. And they do actually own about 10% of the hardware. And they're right now, where they actually own their hardware is in four markets. They're in Washington State, Denver, Toronto, and in their backyard there, right there in Lehigh. And there'll be other markets to come on board eventually. But you also need to realize that the leasing piece as well as the purchase piece is really what makes this whole thing tick. They're working anywhere from 18 to 24 months out to find companies where they can actually purchase mining equipment. The better the mining equipment, the more likely we're going to be successful. And the reason that Genesis is so high on us is because of the artificial intelligence that Mintage has. They have the capability of being able to mine much more profitable than Genesis, about 3 times greater, as a matter of fact. All of these things that we're learning about Mintage and why they why they have an advantage over other mining companies is pretty exciting. They have about 40 companies that they're working with right now. Genesis is obviously the largest, but Genesis is is very attached right now to Mintage because of the efficiency that the company has. Now, many of you wondered why we had a drop in mining activity in terms, well, both mining activity and returns over the last couple of weeks. Well, let's start with the basics on that. The basics are that we just had less people mining. But more importantly is that in terms of profitability, Mintage claims that most companies lost money the last couple of weeks. And Mintage didn't. They had I think about a 1.5% to 2% return over the last couple of weeks. All of you need to realize that there are several factors that go into mining. It's not one, but it's several things. Let's go through. There's 4 areas that you really need to be cognizant on mining. The first is equipment. I mentioned that because the better the equipment you have, the better the mining is going to take place, the more efficient the mining is going to take place. The price of the coin definitely is part of the equation. Not all, but part of it. And we know that Bitcoin now is up to around 11,000. It jumped back up over the last few days. So we should see some mining activity increase. But hash power is also a big part of this, how that hash power is distributed, and of course, which coins are used. And what's interesting about the coin selection is that we can actually mine any coin, and we can mine those coins with a turn of a dime. We can really, we're very, very flexible. And that's the 4th area, and that's flexibility, to be able to move quickly and switch gears if we need to, and not own all of our equipment and be able to get the most efficient equipment out there. So there's a lot that goes into this, a lot that's involved with mining and what we're doing. It's important that all of you out there really understand that it's a complex business, but I really feel good about the ownership on both the NUI side and the Mintage side, and I really feel like that we're in a good spot. So that's kind of the summary that we have on mining. Paul, anything I missed on that? You're going to have to unmute yourself, Paul. Let's get over there.
That pretty much covers it. Let me dovetail one more point on that, and that's First Data. First Data is a merchant account processor. Merchant account simply means that you are authorized to accept credit cards, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, for the purchase of some product. First Data, and this is what I've done for the last 10 years. So it got my attention that the biggest stumbling block we have, we get people excited about cryptocurrency, we get them excited about mining, and then we say, go get yourself an account so that you can buy cryptocurrency, and it takes them weeks to get set up. Okay, what if every single affiliate in NUI Social Mintage could accept credit cards, Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and sell cryptocurrency just like an exchange? And it wouldn't cost you a penny. So let's say the cost of accepting credit cards is 3.5%, not 5 or 10% like is charged by Coinbase or some other exchange. What if you could get Bitcoin or a cryptocurrency in your customer's hands and accept credit card as payment? That's something that we have the ability to do right now. I did not get confirmation and get set up with them yet, but I am told by Darren Oleander that we do have the capability to have a merchant account. I'll speak a little slower. This is a merchant account capability for every single affiliate to sell anything they want, including cryptocurrency, and get your customer started instantly. You could send it directly to their Mintage account. I can't think of anything more exciting than that.
So, Paul, on that point, let's say it's me, and I have an exchange account at Einstein or Coinbase or wherever I have it, and I have some extra Bitcoin. You're telling me that if Joe signs up tonight and I want to get him $25 or $100 to put into Mintage, he can send me a credit card payment for $100. I can then move that safely into his account at Mintage, and it costs nothing to process that?
Sounds like you listened. Yeah. If he wants to pay you with a credit card, he gives you your credit card, his credit card number.
Yeah.
You charge him on your merchant account. I'm sure there'll be a virtual processing arrangement. You say, here's the credit card number, here's the expiration number, here's the CV2 number, the PIN number. I accept $100 from XYZ. Done. That goes into your bank account. Now you send the crypto coin, whatever you sold them, Litecoin, Bitcoin, whatever you had. You are now acting like an exchange. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, and what, remember in a previous company, we had some challenges with that with respect to taxation implications. But did you guys explore that situation? How?
You're going to have to be more specific.
Okay, remember in the other company that we all know about, there was warnings against people in your upline, sending money through the rebuy or sending Bitcoin through the rebuy function. And if they did that in large volume, they could be deemed to literally the customer was not buying the product from the company. They were buying it from you. You have now put yourself in a different position vis-a-vis the tax implications. Do you not remember that issue that came up?
Let me reflect on that to see if you're recounting it correctly.
I'm just raising an issue for us to clear up.
I never heard that complaint that it was not.
Well, that's why they stopped
the taxation was incorrect.
Well, that's why they stopped the rebuys.
Rebuy is one thing. We're not doing rebuys here. We're selling cryptocurrency.
No, well, that was the same thing that was happening in the other one. Listen, I don't want to take you guys off your game. Keep on going. We'll just put that as a question.
I don't think that's, John, I don't think that's a problem.
Okay, great.
Okay, I will say this. First Data owns about 80% of all merchant processing transactions in America.
Wow.
They have taken this through legal from top to bottom.
Okay. And so
I'm going to rely on their legal department.
So even though I'm just a small fry retired person in Canada, I can get a merchant account, and it's not hard to qualify?
Believe it or not, they're going to give it to all of us.
Wow. Okay, cool.
That I couldn't believe it either. I stood there and just kind of said, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
I have to jump through hoops to get merchants to qualify. Yeah. And you're telling me that we're going to be able to get a merchant account, not for what we sell, but for anything. Wow. You want to sell your car? Fine. They don't care.
Right. Wow.
They took it a lot further than what I just took it. So that apparently has been legal. The only thing I haven't been able to do is get set up to go through to troubleshoot it myself. But we are assured that that is signed, sealed, delivered, and legal has signed off on it from top to bottom.
Well, that's pretty amazing. Thank you.
We'll do it, and then I'll tell you what I find out once I sign up myself. I already have a merchant account. I want a new merchant account with this system to test it. Exactly your point. I want to test it. I can't believe it either.
Sounds great.
I'm excited about it.
Bill, are you on next, or who's on next?
Yeah, I'm going to come back in. All right, we're going to cover the next thing I want to cover is really the comp plan. I want to talk a little bit more about it. I don't know if you all realize the comp plan is even much better than I thought it was. As a matter of fact, I'll go out on a limb here and say I don't think I've ever seen a better comp plan in the 10 years that I've been in network marketing. And we had a chance really to go through this in detail with Richard Smith, one of the owners of the company, who actually developed the 3x10 matrix. And although we've covered it on this program, and Paul and I have covered it with our team, I think it's going to be important that you really understand how significant this is. The advantages that we have with our comp plan, number one, is that you've got to understand that we're getting spillover, we're getting compensation from the top down and from the bottom up. I've never seen a compensation program where you get both top down and bottom up. I've also never seen a comp plan that also pays you when we bring in people, if they qualify, and I want to make sure that everybody's clear on this. If they qualify, we're getting paid on the NUI side and we're getting paid on the Mintage side. So we're getting actually two streams of income through Mintage and NUI. Building a team, getting them to qualify, we're getting paid in cryptocurrency, and on the Mintage side, we're getting top-down and bottom-up compensation on both spillover, and of course, we're getting paid on bonus and overrides. Now, one of the interesting things that that Richard brought up, he went through this, the compression, the dynamic compression, and I want to tell you how powerful this is. If you all realize, the goal here that we all should have as team builders would be to get 10 people in our organization. 10 is the magic number. You really need to concentrate on getting 10 people in your organization. And think about this, a big advantage that we have. If we bring somebody into the organization and they do qualify, they only have to purchase a $25 contract. That's it for a full year. So that means that we get 10 people into our organization. They get $25 contracts, and we're basically fully qualified through 10 levels deep. That's 10% on the first level and 2% all the way through down to level 10. So it's very important that we look at dynamic compression. He used an example in Japan, which I was shocked about. Keep in mind that as you go into your depth, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, you have to realize that most people will not have 10 people in their organization. Actually, 4.5% of the entire Japan team doesn't have but 3. So when you look at the number of people that, we'll just take a look at Japan and give you an example here. He was telling us that the Japanese, there's one leg that has 276 levels. 276 levels. And the owners of the company were telling us that the top people are getting paid, even though it's 276 levels down, they're still getting paid because of dynamic compression, because there's not enough people in between level 276 and level 10 to get paid. This is incredible. That, and I was using the example, does that mean that we can go to infinity? And he stopped right there and said, not exactly. We can't use the word infinity, but instead we'll use the word affinity. So in other words, it's almost as if we can go to an infinity in this program. It's absolutely amazing. So here we have a program where virtually most people were going to get paid because of dynamic compression. Now on the NUI side, just keep this in mind, and I did not know this until we actually went through the compensation. We get paid $5 for everybody that comes into our business and qualifies. All of you should know that. And that's going to be forever. But what I did not realize is next year, when the contracts expire and your person has to renew their yearly contract, we get $5 for that person again. So I did not know that. You get a compensation that is reoccurring every single year. So let's say that you got 1,000 people in your organization. That's $5,000 by having $5 for every single person. That will automatically get renewed if they decide they want to continue to buy contracts every year. This compensation plan is unbelievable. That to me is a real key to capture a lot of these folks in showing them that our program is really the best. So I want everybody to be aware of that. Now let's talk about NUI a little bit, because I think it's important. We've kind of sidetracked NUI for a good reason. We want to concentrate on Mintage, and we know that that's really what we want to do. But NUI is going to be becoming more and more important to you in time, and I'm going to explain to you why. I didn't realize the importance of surveys. And the reason that this company exists is because they want to have, basically their goal and their mission and their vision is to have 1 million people making $500 of residual income every month. And they want to be able to do that without having to purchase stuff, as most network marketing companies do. Let's take Nu Skin, for instance. You have to buy the product, and it's basically you have to ship it every single month. With this company, you can actually make an income by completing surveys, getting points, and redeeming those points through the core program. But here's the kicker on this. They are going to be relaunching core. It has not worked yet properly. They're going to be relaunching it in April. And here's what you need to understand. Let's take McDonald's, for instance. McDonald's has actually decided that they're going to use NUI for this purpose. Basically, they're going to ask NUI to survey their customers because they're not happy, have not been happy with their current agency situation. What do these thousands of people do that we have in NUI? They're basically going to be answering questions. Questions like, how's the front end service of McDonald's? Is it as good as the drive-through? Are the restrooms clean? Do you feel like the help is adequately prepared to serve your food? They're going to be able to get the kind of information from our company that's needed in order to get right surveys. What does that mean for us? It means that we will be compensated through couponing and points, and those points are going to be converted to, guess what? Cryptocurrency. That will be the tie-in between Mintage and NUI eventually. What will happen is that we'll be able to get rewarded, if those of you who want to take part in this want to. Basically, the CALA that we get rewarded can be used as a cryptocurrency to purchase goods and services. Darren went through some of the steps that's going to be taken to be able to purchase goods and services, and this is a whole new platform that you will not believe. We'll be able to purchase all kinds of things, flat screen TVs, clothes, furniture, you name it. The other thing you need to understand about CALA is it will be also dotted line back to Mintage. So if we have somebody that wants to either buy CALA, which you can do, the website for CALA, you can go back and actually purchase it. And that website is, it's KALA token.io. You're able to buy a CALA for about 2 cents. It's right now not a coin, it's an ICO, it's a token, but will be a coin eventually. So we'll be able to purchase Mintage contracts with CALA down the road, which I'm pretty darn excited about. Finally, probably the most important piece that I learned in terms of CALA and Bitcoin is that eventually the goal of the company is not to pay you in Bitcoin or to be able to purchase in Bitcoin, but in CALA. So that will be the big picture here as we move forward. So that's a little bit about the comp plan, NUI, and CALA. Back to you, Paul.
Okay. A real quick, interesting comment. The idea to use CALA as the method of payment for us and for buying mining shares, buckets, contracts, actually came from, what was that guy? Jamie Dimon and his bank. Anyway, we were talking to William Havacy? William, anyway, we were talking to a guy from Jamie Dimon's bank, and he said, do you mean to tell me that you're talking about offering services, payment to your customers, offering the payments into the mining, payments back to them in points? Are you crazy? Why aren't you using a token, a utility token? So anyway, Darren's eyes perked up. There's a lot more to it than that, but that idea came from a bank, one of the top banks in the country. That's about it. So we wanted to talk about, what else do we want to talk about? We've got CALA marketing. You want to talk about iDecide? Should we talk about that, Bill?
Yeah, I do want to talk about iDecide. For all of you out there that are looking for marketing tools, obviously Doug and John are doing a great job each week on this program, sharing the slides, the information. We're going to go a step further than that, and we have a program called iDecide. It's an interactive program that we're going to be using. I actually had a chance to show the iDecide program, again, an interactive program where It asks you what you're interested in. We showed this to both Darren and to Greg, the attorney, and they loved it. And they said, hey, this looks great. So we basically have permission to go in and actually develop the information that is needed for iDecide. It is the software package is something that can actually be sent out to prospective candidate. They get this, they answer a few questions, they go through. They'll be going through mining. They'll be going through network marketing. They'll be going through NUI. They'll be going through the steps. And then you actually get an email back saying they have already completed this particular presentation. So we are working on that now. I know the owners of iDecide. I'm working with them right now. They sent me a template to fill out. I'm going to go ahead and get that back to Greg for him to approve it. And then once I do that, we'll send it over to iDecide. And then you'll be able to contact us if you want to participate in the software. There will be a cost. We'll tell you what that cost will be down the road. But basically, it should be ready in a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, I'm hoping. Don't want to put a specific timetable, but I will be working on it. Once compliance approves it, then we'll be able to use it. Basically, this will be for anybody that's interested in mining, and that's what we'll be doing.
Did you cover the surveys? You covered that, right, Bill?
I did. Yeah, I did. So,
That's
John, why don't we do this? Let's open it up for any questions. We've obviously been here about 30 minutes. So that's basically all the notes I had.
Okay, sounds great, you guys. Thanks for doing the pioneering work and at your own expense, going out there, meeting the owners and founders and asking the tough questions. Somebody's got to do it, so I'm glad you guys did it. What questions do we have out there? All you guys have to do is just unmute yourself and go ahead and fire away.
Okay, I've got a couple.
Go, Bruce.
John.
Go ahead.
I really appreciate the information that was shared tonight. A couple questions I have. Number one, was there any discussion on when the company is going to be producing marketing tools, videos, and so forth?
We did. We did ask that, and I'll be honest with you, it is not a top priority right now. They have, and it's important to us. Obviously, that's why I'm working on the iDecide marketing tool. But they have so much going on right now with revamping NUI, getting Mintage online. They're negotiating a whole lot of stuff out there. It's just not a top priority. And that's why I took the position of, hey, we'll go ahead and at least get something going on our end with iDecide. And I think you'll like iDecide once you see it. It's a pretty good tool. But as far as the marketing tools are concerned, I don't see us having anything except what we're doing right here for a while. That's my honest opinion on it.
They had no concern about what the field might be saying that wouldn't be compliant with the lack of tools?
Well, let's talk about that. It's a great point, a great comment. They are getting, I didn't mention this, we're getting ready to see in the near future, probably in the next 60 days, they're going to be hiring 3 sales managers. They'll have a national sales manager, international sales manager, and a Latin sales manager. When those people come in, that's going to change the composition of where we're going. We'll have leadership. We don't have any sales leadership right now. We need that, but that's coming. Once that comes in, then the marketing tools, the compliance, all of the stuff that has to happen to make sure that everybody is on track will happen. So I'm pretty excited, and they're very excited about the talent that's coming in with these 3 people.
Okay. The other question I had was, it kind of sounded when you were talking about the mining category that we've got a fellow who, Dave Chowles, and then is he a joint owner with Darren?
No. Okay. Let me make sure that you understand that there cannot be dual ownership. NUI cannot have any ownership at all in Mintage. And the reason for that is compliance. You cannot have that. So there's no ownership whatsoever. There's a relationship, a working relationship, of course, but but Darren and Nui have specific responsibilities, and Mintage, David, has specific responsibilities, and do not connect financially.
Okay, great.
Can I ask you a question about something that hasn't been talked about yet? In the mining contracts, there was a substantial change in the last couple of days where we went from only having one type of contract that ended each week, on a yearly basis, and then every Thursday the new bucket started in effect. And now we have two. We have the one, and then now we have a 3-year contract as well. And it seems like the starting date is no longer Thursday at 5 p.m. Mountain Time. It's when that bucket gets fully subscribed. So when you buy one in, let's say it's a slow couple of 3 weeks, if you put your money in today, that contract might not start for 3 or 4 weeks hence. Now, that to me is not a very happy kind of solution. Do you have any thoughts on that?
It's interesting, John, because this all came up the day after we left. We did not know this was going to happen when we walked out of the office. Okay. So this is news to us. Now, I will say this, that the Mintage associate support has been really good. So that is a great question. And I wanted to find out, first of all, what the advantage of having a 3-year contract over a 1-year contract would be. So those questions you're asking right now need to be addressed.
So
they have to be addressed.
One of the advantages, of course, is you have more security of recurring income coming in, and you're actually getting an extra half a point. I forget where it is that you're getting it. You're getting some extra percentage for being in a 3-year contract, but it also requires 3 times more as a minimum. It's
correct.
$25. It's now $75 instead of $10 minimum for the other deal. It's $12 to on the subsequent rebuy.
Right.
But that's something that we need to find out more about. Is I don't like that the start date has gone from being fixed every week and knowing what it is to being lengthy. And I understand possibly one of the reasons why they're doing it. Going back to your original point where you said that one of the key ingredients in mining success is the quality of the equipment and the cost of the equipment, like the ASICs chips or the other chips, the MUC.
Right.
Though it would appear that that's why they've gone to more money in the bucket, as it were, to secure maybe a better price on their mining or better return on the mining. But I don't like the fact that we don't have that structured weekly start.
Understood.
All right. Okay. Anybody else? I don't want to monopolize.
Yes. Good evening, gentlemen. John, excellent question, because that was on my mind, and I'm sure it's on and everybody else's mind as well. The 1 to 3 year contract. Something I think we need desperately too is some training back there. Some of you gentlemen might have a lot more experience in cryptocurrency. Let's back up a little bit. So you've got 4 different coins you can pick when you're going through your purchase. I mean, I hope I'm speaking for a lot of people. We could use a lot of training back there. Do you pick Litecoin? Why pick Bitcoin over Bitcoin Cash? I mean, we need some training. I know you guys, it's all infancy, but Bill or Paul, do you see anything coming like that? And can you shed any light on it?
I missed that. Bitcoin Cash, we're talking about.
Let's say you're going to buy something. You want to buy in the Litecoin category, you want to buy Bitcoin category, Bitcoin Cash. I mean, help us out a little bit. I mean, what are the advantages of buying and in different categories? And for people coming in, we're going to need some training for that as well.
Okay, there's no training required. That's the nice thing about what we do. The artificial intelligence is going to select the coin that will be mined. It will select the speed that it is going to be mined, and you get a return based on that. Go ahead, John.
Paul, the question that I'm hearing from the gentleman is when you're initially going to your wallet and saying, I want to buy some money to put in.
Oh, you're talking about transferring in?
That's right. He's talking about
Yeah.
those 4 things that we have
Yes.
an option.
Yeah, right.
What the advantage of one is over the other. For my money, whatever coin you have of those 4, you can decide to use. It doesn't matter. Whatever you have available, whatever you've invested in your exchange, that's what you use, because it doesn't really matter. It'll be converted to dollars, in order to get mining units. So on that question, it's whatever you have is what works.
Well, let me just say this, Jan. As far as the Litecoin is concerned, you bring up a great point, because there are costs involved in transactions, and a lot of these costs are, when we take a look at Bitcoin and Coinbase, for instance, they're exorbitant when you make small purchases. Coinbase hates to deal with small purchases. Litecoin, there's hardly any cost at all. I mean, Paul and I were shocked at, it's pennies. So from that standpoint, Jan, it makes better sense to actually use Litecoin, to get Litecoin into your digital wallet and use that to your for your Mintage wallet, because it's much cheaper.
Yep.
Now, let me just say one more thing, Jan. In the future, when we start to deal with Cala, and that would be our coin of reference, there are no fees inside. That was very clear from Darren. He said, once you get into Cala, there's no fees. No mining fees, nothing. Once we use our own coin. So this will be in the future. So right now, we have those coins, 4 coins to choose from. My choice right now is Litecoin, simply because of cost of the transfer cost. That's the only reason that I would use it.
Excellent. That's what I was looking for, Bill. Thank you so much for clarifying.
No problem. Great question.
And just for the record, my name is Mark Romeo. My computer, they couldn't change the name on it.
Oh, okay. Sorry about
They
that.
can't change the name on it. I'm like,
I got it.
it's my life.
No problem.
Anyway,
Okay.
Mark Romeo.
But that was a great question, Mark. Thank you.
The other thing I want to point out to everybody, on the chat where you're actually putting in your questions, what I'm going to do at the end of this, after the recording, because the chat's being recorded as well, I'll actually make a copy of that and send it to Bill and to Paul as well, so that they can then answer some more of those questions for us within the Inner Circle team. So, because there's some really good questions that we're not going to be able to get to all tonight. So if you have questions, go ahead and post them there. They won't get lost, okay?
Very good.
What else? Anybody else have any?
I have another question. Why would I want to buy a 3-year contract versus a 1-year contract? Is there some advantage to going 3 years over 1 year that you know of?
Not yet. I don't know yet.
Yeah, when I read through it, there was a slightly higher return on your money coming in. I don't know where that is. Whether I'll have to go back, but I did see that they were giving you a slight incentive to have your money tied up with them for a longer period. For you, if you're a passive type of investor and you don't want to be building teams or anything else, and you just have some money and you have additional money coming in that you want to put in, you don't want to be messing with it every week and making that decision. 3-year contract gives you more peace of mind with slightly better return.
Bruce, let me mention one thing though that Childs told us. He's constantly looking in the future, 18 to 24 months, to be able to buy this buying equipment. It never stops. You're constantly having to buy. So I know he's looking for capital as well to be able to invest in newer and newer mining equipment. So I know this doesn't help our question, but from his standpoint, that gives him more liquid. It gives him more liquid to work with. That's from his standpoint, though.
Okay.
There's a question about the 3-year agreement. Does that mean it doesn't? Does it not expire for 3 years? That's exactly right. You're
That's
getting
right.
52 times 3 weeks,
Right.
so 150
Right.
of
Right.
weekly returns coming in.
That will look great on your compounding, though. I'll tell you that.
Man, if you leave it there like that and you keep
Yeah,
building
yeah.
the team, it'll be just
Compounding would be incredible. It would be. Yeah. Yeah. It would be.
So, gentlemen, one more question. Are we because I'm new and have patience with, do we have to reinvest that interest every week, or is it automatically reinvested every week?
John, you want to take that?
That's a good question. Obviously, it's a primary part of the program. There's only one. There's two ways you get money in this deal. One is the weekly return of your principal and profit, which is that weekly amount that could be 1.5%, 2%, 3%, 3.5%, whatever. That amount gets paid to you. You have a number of things you could do with it. You could leave it there for a period of time until the next week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever. Whenever you have enough, then you can decide to put it in or not. You can take it out, through your withdrawal button in your wallet, or you could do the manual thing that many of us do, take that amount of money and then buy an additional contract in the next bucket that is going to be operating. We thought it would be every Thursday, but now whenever it gets started. So there's three things you could do with that. Now, the other income you get is from commissions that are paid on the purchases of people in your team. On the first level people, which we call the bonus, those are your 10%ers. So if I brought you in, Mark, and you put in $1,000, I would be credited with 100. Now, I can't take that money out like I could with the weekly return.
Right.
That money stays in the bucket and automatically gets bought as a new contract into the next bucket. So that is almost like a forced saving, forced compounding. I like that feature because unless I needed that money to live on, which is, contrary to the basic premise that most of us should be operating from, we shouldn't be using the money that we need to live on in this project. That money should stay and keep growing because we're looking to accumulate Bitcoin and we're looking to secure some retirement capabilities down the road. So the two different incomes, the weekly, you can take out or you can reinvest, and that's a manual decision every week. The commissions that come from either bonus or overrides on your team structure, they stay in and you get some additional buckets to earn more money on the next week.
And when would that money be liquid, John, at the end of the contract?
Well, the money, each contract, you've got a staggered thing. So today you start with 1,000. Next week you got, $30 as a return, and you decide to put it in. The second contract is now for another 30, and that week, the following week, you're going to get paid on 1,030.
Mm-hmm.
The third week you got another $25 or $30 in your weekly, and so that's another contract. But now you have 1,065. So it will continue over time. If you look at over time, you'll never be out of the money unless you physically stop. Once for all saying, I'm going to put this money in. No, if you do that, then 52 weeks hence, it stops.
Okay.
Everybody get that?
Yep.
Okay. Anyway, anything else? Debbie, you have some question. Let's see what you've got here. Okay, what does Debbie have? NUI commissions. Okay. Yeah, the NUI commissions, they've had some challenges with them, and I've been going back and forth with the support team, and they've been very, very good at fixing things. So in your NUI back office under commissions, you will get the month in which you had earned those $5 or the cash back, the fast track cash back for 125 once you got 3 people. And then that if you have in your back office the wallet address to which you want your funds to be sent, that's on a Friday when they make these commission payments, then you will, within a day or so, you'll see it in your wallet, whether it's an exchange wallet or a hard wallet or whatever it's called, or one of these nano. I recommend that everybody either get a Trezor or what's the name? Ledger, a Ledger Nano S, which is the safest way to secure your cryptocurrency. So that's how you will get your money paid out. Anybody more questions on that?
What was that called, John? A Ledger Nano S?
That's exactly it. You got it. LEDGER, separate word, nano, separate letter S. And
Thank you.
it's a French company, but you can buy it on Amazon. It's usually $25 to $40 less than Trezor, TREZOR, and they've been rated equally well in all the reviews.
Perfect.
Thank you, John.
Bye-bye. The other question Robin asked, is there an internal wallet where it can stay inside NUI? Yeah, you have your wallet.
Right.
You have your wallet. That's where all the money gets paid in on a weekly basis. It goes into that wallet. And then if you decide to use it to buy additional contracts, then that's how it's used. Any other questions? We'll answer many of those chat ones separately because we're going to run out of time here. I don't see anybody standing up or shouting at us.
Well, I'll ask one more. So do we know percentage-wise what is return of principal each week versus what percentage is profit?
No, you don't.
No?
And even if you did this week, next week it would be completely different because you'd have multiple contracts and they'd be blended. So, it would be impossible to tell you the exact numbers.
So when we see numbers like, say, 3.4% profit or return for the week, that isn't necessarily all profit. Some of that is return of principal.
Well, yeah, it has to be because over the 52 weeks, they have to completely pay you back the amount that you initially put in. So yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay.
If you were with us in that previous company, it was the same thing. You're getting your 40%, as it were, profit plus the return of your original principal.
Right.
David, Yost, can you hear me?
Yeah, David, go ahead.
So just on that point, let's say they only made 1% every week. The contract's for 40 weeks. I'd only get paid back a maximum of 40% of my original dollars.
Wait, let me understand. So if the return,
or 52%, excuse me.
Yeah, if the weekly rate dropped down consistently to 1%, you'd be losing money.
Right.
Because even with compounding, I don't think you would reach the return of your full principal.
I've actually done the numbers, and it takes a minimum of 2.5% on a weekly basis to gain.
Yeah.
So that's why I've been a little concerned that the rates have been going below that mark. Now, I know you've told us the reasons why, but we need to, if they don't climb above that 2.5% rate, because the units are expiring, you won't cover your principal and have a gain.
Well, Bill, you want to answer that?
We got to take a look at the calculator. I don't know where your numbers are coming from, David, but I know that I need to take a look at that.
Well, let me tell you where it comes from. If you only have $25 in there, you can't reinvest except for once every quarter because of that $10 minimum.
Right.
And so your compounding disappears almost to a negligible amount.
Okay.
Then what happens is if you take just 2% times 52 weeks, you've got 104%. So you've got your principal back plus a 4% yield without any compounding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that 2% mark is really kind of the and then you have a fee of $135 you got to cover. If a person never brings anybody in and only puts $25 in, they're going to wind up maybe breaking even at 2%. That's where it comes from.
But David, would you recommend to anybody that they only ever put $25
That
in?
was going to be my point.
And realistically, tell them to
No, and even if you're at $400 at 2%, you wind up with $8, and that's still not enough to compound that first week. You have to go every other week to compound. But I'm just saying that there are some critical factors in terms of the rate of return because these units are expiring. That's what got me excited about the 3-year agreement. Those units won't expire for 3 years. That will help that bottom line on that
It will.
compounding.
It will. Mhm.
good
It
insight.
will.
Okay.
It's the expiration of the units that really causes this thing to go upside down quickly if you don't have a high enough yield.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And, it's really important that you brought that up because it just really highlights the fact that we're in a business that is so unique, and the fact that we have the MLM component is, it encourages us to share this with others, because that's how you and I and everybody else will increase beyond just the simple interest or simple compounding.
Well, and I understand that. I just want to make sure that if a solo investment or a solo purchase, let me get my terminology right, comes in here, that it doesn't lose money. I get the fact that if I bring people in, I get paid money on top of that. But if my own purchases don't return a yield, then it has the hint of a Ponzi scheme.
Okay.
Good point.
That's it. Thanks.
Excuse me. Does that mean that you lose your initial investment also? Shouldn't you be able to get that back no matter
You
plus?
don't get your initial investment. No.
Your
You're paying
purchase
for mining.
will expire, and whatever you got paid will be the return of your purchase plus whatever profit there was.
Yeah.
Correct.
But if the profit is not sufficient enough to return a positive, you're going to get paid something. But are you going to get paid enough to recoup what you purchased on top of it? That's a function of the yield on a weekly basis.
However, there is another aspect that we have to consider. If Bitcoin is running at 11,000 right now, and a year later it's running at 44,000, then then we've also quadrupled. And David, you bring up a very good point. But if we're going to lose a little bit, then the flip side of that coin is, so we've got two ways of making money. We're making money on the compounding, on the mining. We're also going to make money on the increase of Bitcoin. John, can you chime in, or Bill, one of you guys?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. That's always been the biggest reason that we're in this game. In addition to compounding, which is just an amazing bonus, we're in a position, if you understand the Bitcoin space and the history of the Bitcoin and the way that the supply side of Bitcoin has been created, we are in a situation that's unique in that value is created through scarcity. And there's built-in scarcity in the model, because it will only have 21 million Bitcoins ever issued into the next history that we're alive. And a good half of them are not in play. A quarter of them have been lost. Another quarter of them are stored as a store of wealth, replacing gold. And only about half, about 8 million right now are in play. And the demand is crazy. If you look at every exchange around the world, they're being hit with hundreds of thousands of applications every month, to the point where that's what's going to drive up the price. And so, you might disregard people's optimistic projections that Bitcoin's going to hit 15 again, or 20 or 30 or 100, but you may be wrong. It's a very strong possibility that you will be wrong about that appreciation. So, to be a stickler on that, on the compounding, and, whether you're going to get your $25 back in a year, the appreciation side is the big ticket item here. And if you build a team, you'll be rewarded in many, many other ways, both in the commissions as well as the appreciation. And we've seen that in the previous company. If they hadn't to run into, regulatory problems, people were making money like you wouldn't believe. And, and it's very possible that that will start happening again here. So yeah, very good point about appreciation.
I originally bought put $200 in. I bought Litecoin from GDAX.
Yeah, GDAX.
And by the time I got to be able to into mining, that $200 was $225.
There you go. There you go. Mm-hmm. It happens quite often.
I put 5,000 into it, and Tim and I were looking at it last night, and it's valued at 27.30. My profit was 27.30 already in 2 weeks.
That's nice.
And that's without the compounding. So, John or David, you bring up a very good point, and I appreciate that. So,
well, and the problem there, Attila, is that you bought it. I mean, the good news is you bought it at the right time. If you'd have bought 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when it was at 17,000, and now it's down to 12, you'd be upside down.
Yeah.
So it can work both ways.
Yes, you're right, David. You're correct.
Well, you guys were exactly an hour out from the start, and I think that's a pretty good spot to thank Bill and Paul for the work that they did and reporting back to us. Unless there are any other questions, I'm going to stop the recording now, and then we'll be able to. If you don't have your email with me, if you're not receiving the emails directly from me about these meetings, and you want to receive this recording, then you need to send me that email. And my email is really simple. It's Dr. as in Dr. Gluckman, Gluckman, @yahoo.com. So if you want to be on the list to get all the information and to get a copy of this, send me an email with your email and we'll be good. All right, I'm stopping the recording now, folks, but you don't have to run away. Yes, I do want to record.